Birmingham, and especially those of you in Jamaica, because we can't forget our friends in Jamaica. This is your victory as well. This is a victory for a lot of people, my friends. This is a victory for a lot of people. And of course, I am talking about Leon Edwards' shocking, absolutely shocking knockout of one Kamaru Usman Saturday night in Salt Lake City, Utah, of all places, which ended up being the perfect place for this result. Shocking, not so much because Leon won. No, a lot of people, including myself, thought that he would win. Shocking because of how he did it, when he did it, how the fight was going, and against who he did it. Shocking for those reasons. A victory for so many people, a victory for every single person who was told no, a victory for every single person who tried to do things the right way, a victory for every single person who was thrown roadblock after roadblock, who was told F you, who was kind of left off to the side, who wasn't flashy, who wasn't showy, who wasn't puffing their chest out. It's a victory for meritocracy. It's a victory for doing things the right, just, and fair way. It's a victory for the working class. It's a victory for everyone who believed, not just in what's right, what's wrong, who believed in this particular fighter. Because let's be honest, for a very long time, there were a lot of reasons not to believe in this particular fighter. There were a lot of people telling you you shouldn't believe in this particular fighter. And I have no problem sitting here and having this be a little bit about myself as well, because I know there are going to be, look at Ariel making it about himself. No. Today, I ain't listening to that, because today, I'm going to think back to the last 3 years. I'm going to think back to March of 2019. I'm going to think back to the O2 Arena. I'm going to think back to when Jorge Masvidal punched Leon Edwards backstage, jumped him. And I used that word on ESPN, jumped him. And I got a call from Jorge's team. And they said, man, you're talking jump, you're talking big words. And I said, yeah, when you do that in MMA, there needs to be a payoff. If you're going to fight backstage, there needs to be a payoff. Go back to March of 2019 and go back to what I said. Leon Edwards should fight Jorge Masvidal at the O2. Go back to what I said. Nah, we're not going to fight Leon. No one cares about Leon. Leon was booed by his own people at the O2. Leon was booed by his hometown or adopted hometown crowd when he was fighting Gunnar Nelson. He wasn't Darren Till. He wasn't the Golden Boy, let alone Michael Bisping. He wasn't any of these guys. He was booed March of 2019. And then he was ridiculed. And then he couldn't even get revenge because they went with Ben Askren, of course. We all remember that. And then Jorge gets on this incredible run. And what does Leon have to do? What does he get for his troubles, for his embarrassment, for getting screwed over? What does he get? He gets Rafael dos Anjos, one of the toughest outs in the game, in San Antonio, Texas. I mean, if Utah was random, San Antonio back then was just as random. And that's when I started calling him the Tim Duncan of MMA. Not because of the rings, not because of his age. Come on, guys, stick with me. It's because he never puffed his chest out, because he never spoke up. He wasn't a big draw in terms of personality. He was just a guy who did things the right way. The big fundamental, if you will, right? And what does he do? He goes out and he beats Rafael dos Anjos. And he does so rather convincingly. And usually you get a win like that over a guy like that, a former champion at 155. Usually you go on to bigger and better things. And he got bigger and better things. Let's not mistake the situation. He got a big opportunity against a former champion named Tyron Woodley in March of 2020 in London at the O2, a headliner. Unfortunately, there was this thing called the pandemic and there was this thing called COVID that ended up screwing all of that and ended up canceling that fight. And then everything started to change for Leon Edwards, because at that point he was still, even though he got screwed by the Masvidal situation, he saw other people get title shots before him, he was still on this trajectory. But everything changed in March of 2020. Let me continue that thought in a moment. First, I do want to thank our good friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the MMA Hour. Thank you for the support. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use code the MMA Hour. Appreciate them, support them because they support us. Thank you to them. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't say that. Back to March of 2020. Here he is, a guy who gets a call on a Sunday morning, 6 days before the fight. You need to go to the airport right now. It's important to look at this from a macro level, not just the micro level of Saturday, to fully appreciate and understand and respect what Leon did and what he had to overcome just to get to Saturday, let alone win on Saturday, you have to understand the journey. You have to understand what the past 3 years have been like, let alone what he had been through getting up to that point, and we will get to that too. Don't you worry, we will get to that. Post-pay-per-view Monday, Leon's going to join us, Tim Simpson's going to join us, Merab's going to join us, Paulo Costa's going to join us, The Crew's going to join us. Back to March 2020, he gets a call on a Sunday morning, and they say to him, you got to go to the airport right now. The world is shutting down. It's Armageddon. The world is stopping. Borders are closing. You need to get to the United States right now. He's like, what are you talking about? I was supposed to headline in my home country, adopted home country, at the O2 famous arena in 6 days. Now you're telling me I have to leave my family. I have to go to the United States, and I don't know when I could come back? What are you talking about? I don't know if I'll be able to return. No, I got to sit out. And remember what was said about him back then. Remember how he was ridiculed. He doesn't want it bad enough. He doesn't do what it takes. Shame on you, Leon. Shame on you. You'll never be a champion. You're a Bellator. Where are the tweets? Show the tweets right now. I want to see the tweets of what people said. We picked up some of these tweets. These are tweets of what people were saying about Leon, not just in that moment, but leading up to Saturday. Where are my tweets? I want to see my tweets. I want to go, not this tweet. I want to go to the tweets of what people were saying about Leon Edwards over the past 3 years. Let's look at the tweets. Leon Edwards will never be a UFC champion. What are you saying now, Nathan Moore? March of 2019. What else we got? This is just a taste. This is a 0.05%. Edwards will always be known as the guy that Masvidal punched in the face backstage and nothing more. October of 2020. What else we got? How you feeling now, Barry Halls? How about this one? Leon Edwards is more of a Bellator type fighter. If you ask me, he should go over there and crush cans for a living. How are you feeling now, Ander X? What else we got? We got any more? Oh, this is a good one. Edwards is going to get stomped by Usman. You can do Chimaev versus Edwards to see if he's worthy and find out he is not. How did that go? We'll get to Saturday in a moment. What else do we have? I think we have a couple more. Do we have a couple more there, or is that it? So much respect for you, Ariel. Oh, thank you. But couldn't disagree more about the way you promote Leon. It's ridiculous. He doesn't deserve the praise that you give him. It's absurd. Absurd to watch. Do we have another one, or is that it? I don't know. Oh, we have more. Edwards' quote-unquote big wins were against RDA and Cerrone fighting up a weight class and a young Vicente. Unlucky Masvidal got hurt, but I bet Gilbert Durinho is game to step in and has a nice story. How about Leon beat a top 6 currently in the weight class before we crown him number 1 contender? And so let's stop right there. Gilbert's a great example of someone that I'd like to talk to because Gilbert was able to benefit from, Leon, in some people's eyes, fumbling the bag, not stepping up to the plate, all this stuff and more. And Gilbert gets the opportunities, right? He got the Woodley fight. He then gets the title fight in July. Unfortunately, he gets COVID. They call Leon up on 7 days' notice to replace Gilbert Durinho, who had COVID. And unfortunately, he's like, I haven't been training. I'm not ready. What do you want me to do? You want me to go to Fight Island on 6 days' notice and fight for the belt after all this time? No. Jorge Masvidal get the shot. And so here's a guy, Leon Edwards, who while I was at, the other company, let's go over here. While I was at the other company, Leon Edwards is being mocked. He's being ridiculed. People are saying, oh, he's not a big star. He's not a big draw. He's boring, right? And so who is Kamaru fighting? He's fighting Jorge. He's fighting Colby. He's fighting Durinho. He's fighting all these guys, right? He's lapping them, right? He's fighting them twice. All the guys who said, Leon is boring. Leon can't hang. We're not going to look at Leon. Leon doesn't deserve a number 1 contender fight. He doesn't even deserve to be in the conversation with the likes of these guys. That's what they were saying. Remember? He's Leon Scott. He's boring. The irony that all these guys get an opportunity, some multiple times, to fight Kamaru Usman, and it's Leon who gets the victory, and it's Leon who gets the knockout, and it's Leon who's the champion who tastes gold. The guy that everyone mocked, the guy that everyone said didn't even deserve to be in the conversation, not with the champion. Forget the champion, number 1 contender. How dare you? I mean, the battles that I used to have with Chael, with DC, with you guys online, with the Gilberts of the world, with the dominance guys coming after me. Oh, Bilal, this and that. And you guys all mocked this guy because he wasn't able to maybe hang with you toe-to-toe verbally, right? He wasn't able to go toe-to-toe. He didn't have someone tweeting on his behalf. He didn't care about all this stuff. He kept getting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And then what happens? Oh, okay. Cool. You can't fight Woodley. You can't fight for the belt on 6 days' notice. We're going to give you a title shot on 6 days' notice. How about this guy, Khamzat Chimaev, who during that time on Fight Island beats 2 guys in a matter of seconds? You got to fight him. Really? This guy's not even ranked. I'm ranked number 3. No, you got to fight him. Why? This makes no sense. You just gave me a title shot. You just told me to go fight someone on 6 days, and now I'm fighting Khamzat Chimaev? Nah, I'm not doing that. Okay, you're out of the rankings. We're removing you from the rankings. This is 2 years ago, my friends. We're removing you from the rankings. All right, fine. We'll make a deal. I'll fight Khamzat. Once he agrees to fight Khamzat. Canceled. Twice he agrees to fight Khamzat. Canceled. 3 times he agrees to fight Khamzat. Canceled. 3rd time, Bilal Muhammad. Looking great, but can't get the victory. Can't get the nod. Can't get the shine. Can't get over. Why? No contest, eye poke. There's a scene in the bus. He's crying. He is crying to his mom. His mom who had him when she was 15 years old. 15 years old. His mom who had him when she was 15 in Jamaica. He has a father who's involved in gangs, in the drug scene. Doesn't even know that he has a brother. His brother's living with his grandmother. His brother Fabian, a great Bellator fighter. They meet when they're 6. They move to the UK. Better life in Birmingham, which, doesn't get the shine that a London does, right? Doesn't get the shine in the UK, doesn't get the shine in England. It's the trenches, it's the working class, right? He goes there, and what is it? It's more trouble, it's more bad news, it's more gangs, it's more drugs, it's more of that. His father gets murdered, a guy who grows up without a dad, a guy who grows up with his single mother who had him when she was 15 years old. This is what he grew up. This is the type of scene that he grew up in. And then they're walking by a gym when he's a teenager, and she says, maybe you should try this MMA thing because I need you off the streets. And it's that exact road that led him to Saturday. And so when he's fighting Bilal Muhammad and he loses via, it's essentially viewed as a loss in many people's eyes because you didn't get over. It's a no contest officially, but in many people's eyes, he didn't get any credit for that. It's like, oh, here's Leon again, fumbling the bag. He's crying to her. What more do I have to do? COVID screwed me. All these opportunities I couldn't get. I signed up to fight Khamzat 3 times. What happens? I freaking fight this guy who's below me in the rankings, who's a game fighter, who I look great against, and I poke him in the eye. And so then it's a no contest. All right, fine. Then he gets a great opportunity against Nathan Diaz. Kudos to him. Has to wait an extra month because the fight got postponed, but great. He gets this opportunity. And what happens? Again, he can't get the victory. He can't get the victory in the people's eyes. It says victory here on the screen, but he can't be viewed as a victory. He gets no momentum. He gets no love. He's winning for 24 minutes. And again, last minute, what happens? Nate, few shots, ends up becoming, the people's champion that night. He wins the war, so to speak. Maybe not the battle, but in the eyes of the people, Nathan Diaz won the war. And again, he can't get the rub. And again, he can't get put over. And again, it's other people saying, nah. You go fight other guys. You go fight. Oh, okay, now you could fight Masvidal after he lost twice to the champion. Now you should go fight him. And he agrees to go fight him, even though at that point he should have been the number 1 contender, right? He agreed to fight Masvidal when it really didn't make any sense at that point for him. He is literally a fight away from fighting for the belt. He wins that fight. And now he's going backwards to fight Masvidal, who had 2 chances at the belt, and he agrees to fight him. What happens? Fight gets canceled, and now he's left in limbo. And again, all throughout this time, we're checking in. He's not, crying. He's not raising a stink. He's not going on a Twitter tirade. He's not calling X, Y, and Z. He's just like, man, when is it going to go my way? When is it going to go my way? And when it does go my way, it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing because I have had to eat so many shit sandwiches. I've had to overcome so much here. I represent everyone who got screwed over the past 2 years. I represent everyone who's been told no. I represent everyone who's had to take the long route to get to wherever they want to go. 10-fight unbeaten streak. Some guys get a title shot after 2 fights. Some guys get a title shot after 1 fight. 10-fight unbeaten streak. And he had to go all the way. And it wasn't even a guarantee after the Nathan Diaz fight because he didn't even get the title shot after the Nathan Diaz fight. It was Jorge Masvidal. And he finally gets it. He finally gets that title shot. And when is it? It's August 20th. the same day as Anthony Joshua, the biggest star in British combat sports, arguably, in his revenge match against Alexander Usyk in Saudi Arabia. So he's going to get eclipsed. You know that. In terms of attention, in terms of media, he's going to get eclipsed, right? And where is it? It's in Salt Lake City, Utah, a place that he had never heard of, didn't know where Utah was, didn't know where Salt Lake was, knew nothing about it, right? Now he'll never forget it. Now it will always be a special place in his heart. And I bet you he goes back and he should be feted over there and celebrated over there and have a parade for him over there, let alone in Birmingham. But what happens this week? This week, it's casual, cool, calm, and collected Leon, completely being overshadowed again, not showing up with the sunglasses and the fancy stuff and all this stuff, just, saying his piece. Saying his piece. Underdog. We're talking 205 Usman. We're talking Canelo Alvarez. We're talking Khamzat this. We're talking greatest of all time. We're talking pound for pound king. Leon is nothing but a bit player in all of this. Nothing but a bit player. And so what happens? The fight starts and it's like, oh, damn. Leon came correct. Leon, he was ready to go. First round, had his back. Threatening. Little dicey situations here, but we've seen this before. The challenger has a good moment early on. We remember Liz Carmouche. We remember some of these other moments where it was like, oh my God, is something happening? Valentina Shevchenko recently. Something happened. The world corrects itself. Second round, bullied, beaten, shots to the body, shots to the face, overpowered, overmatched. And then the body language just keeps, It keeps deteriorating and deteriorating and deteriorating. He can't look his coaches in the eye. And this is being talked about on the broadcast. His coach, Dave Lavelle, I have watched that clip of him to the tune of the Rocky music. I swear to God, I've watched it 250 times. It's going to be my new alarm. I'm going to wake up to that thing. And I suggest you do as well. How could you not want to run through a wall? And I saw Dwayne Ludwig, who I have the utmost respect for, but a bit of a hater in that moment because Dwayne was like, oh, this is nothing more than like motivational hype man. No, listen to the other coaches. They were telling him what to do. But this one guy who has been with him for all these years knew that he needed to freaking wake him up. He needed to get him going. And it took first round to second round to third round to fourth round to fifth round. At this point, head down, a minute to go. Usman's en route to another victory, en route to more talk about pound for pound king status, en route to more talk about GOAT status, en route to more talk about Canelo, en route to more talk about 205 and all this other nonsense. And what happens? That final minute, the same final minute that screwed him against Nate Diaz, finally, the world corrects itself for Leon Edwards. In that final minute, this young man from Jamaica, this young man from the trenches, this young man who everyone did not want to give a shot to, dug down deep and threw the kick of a lifetime, the head kick that will be talked about and remembered until this sport no longer ceases to exist. Until I die, I will be thinking about that moment. One of the greatest things that I have ever seen inside the octagon. And again, it's because we have respect for Kamaru Usman. It's because he was a tremendous champion, a fighting champion, a game champion. It's because of what he did that makes that moment. Make no mistake about it. This isn't me raining on his legacy or whatever he did over the last 3 years. That's a great champion who has a lot to be proud of, and the way he conducted himself in the aftermath, nothing short of amazing, and he deserves all the credit. But it's because of who he is, it makes that moment that much greater. And it's because it came in the final minute of a fight that he was about to lose 4 rounds to 1 after everything that he had been through. To throw a kick like that and to land it, magical. One of the greatest, for me personally, on a personal note, after the last few years, after seeing what this guy had been through, after seeing how few had his back from the brass to his fellow fighters, and I would have conversations with some of these people and I would be like, yo, this could be you. This could be your client. This guy represents what's right about MMA. He does things the right way. Hard hat, lunch pail, meritocracy, the fair way. And you guys are trying to ruin that. Exhibit 3,492, why there will never be a union as long as things stay the same, why this is always an individual sport. This guy didn't try to cut corners. He was fighting unranked guys. He was fighting guys that no one wanted to fight to get to this point. And he pulls it off like that. And he does it in that moment with less than a minute to go, 56 seconds to go. One of the most shocking, one of the greatest, one of the most amazing turn of events in the history of the sport. And I was trying to think, what is this like? Have we ever seen? Yes, we saw Yuri get a submission. We saw Yuri get a submission with, a minute or so left over Glover, which was amazing. Glover, never been submitted, all that stuff, but Glover wasn't a long-standing champion. And there were some people who thought it was 2-2 going into that fifth round. And of course, we all remember UFC 117, right? We remember 117 where it was Chael, the underdog, like a minute away, a minute and a half away, whatever it was, about to beat Anderson, which was a great moment. But in that moment, it was the king, right? The king who pulled it off. In this moment, it was the Chael who pulled it off. It was the underdog. It was the guy who had been kicked on and stomped on and spat on. He's the one that pulled it off. We have never seen anything like this in any type of title fight, in any type of UFC fight. Yeah, we saw Korean Zombie do it, but last second, that wasn't a title fight. That wasn't with the backstory. We have never seen anything like this. And isn't it amazing? And isn't it ironic that the guy that they all said was boring, the guy that they all said no one connected with, the guy that they all said wasn't one of the top stars in England, right? They show him on the screen, no one says a word. They show this guy, that guy, Patty, Darren, whatever, everyone pops, right? Isn't it amazing that it's that guy from Birmingham, from Jamaica, who elicits this type of response from the public? I have no problem saying it. I got emotional on Saturday night. I have the opportunity to do a show on Saturday night where I get to talk to the people, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And I got to talk to people from Birmingham, from England, from the UK, 7 a.m. in the morning, who are crying, who are emotional, because what Leon Edwards did gives them hope, makes them proud, makes them believe, makes them want to keep fighting. I'm not making this out to be bigger than what it is. Trust me, listen to those voices. I've tweeted the clip. This is bigger than MMA. This is bigger than sport. That guy that everyone said wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't popular enough, wasn't dynamic enough, wasn't well-rounded enough, he elicited that emotion. It's a beautiful thing. And he's going to be the guy to bring them to the UK and to do a show at Wembley, what they're talking about now. He's going to be the guy to do that. Old Leon Rocky Edwards. He's going to be the one, the face of UK MMA, Leon Rocky Edwards, going to get that moment after everything. And now everyone else who ignored him over the past 3 years wants to fight him, wants to go toe-to-toe, wants to get the rub off of his moment. God, sometimes the world has a way of correcting itself for the underdogs, for the voiceless, for the ones who just can't seem to catch a break. And I really do feel like Leon represents so many people over the past 2+ years who feel like they just can't catch a break. This guy had to do it in Utah, had to do it when no one was watching in the UK, right? Middle of the night, Anthony Joshua, all that stuff. And he does it against the pound for pound king. I mean, what can you say? I was telling the guys at the beginning here, I don't know what I'm going to say here. I don't know. I've been thinking about, what am I going to say? What am I going to say on this Monday after? I mean, there were times, like, I would ask myself, why are you battling for this guy so much? I'm getting into like tweet wars and stuff with Gilbert and all this, and I'm battling Chael and DC. I mean, go back. The footage is there. It's all there. Why? Because I felt like no one had this guy's back, and I felt like he was really good. I felt like he was really deserving of these opportunities, but because he maybe didn't have, someone tweeting for him, or maybe didn't have the personality, or maybe didn't have, the fan base, or the Instagram followers, or the tweets, or the Twitter followers, or the engagement, all this bullshit that we like to talk about. At the end of the day, the great equalizer is that cage. And if you could just get into the cage, you could pull off a moment like that, you will now be remembered among the gods. That picture is going up on this wall. I can assure you of that. That is one of the greatest moments in the history of this sport, one of the greatest moments that I've ever experienced as a watcher of the sport. The first moment that I ever experienced where I felt something watching MMA was UFC 65, George St. Pierre versus Matt Hughes. Watching it in Montreal, I felt something that day. I felt like this was special. This was a community that I wanted to be a part of. The next time I felt that, it might have been UFC 187. When my friend Daniel Cormier finally tasted gold after everything he had been through, and he beat Anthony Joshua. What a moment that was. He was able to hold that belt. He was able to feel something. Like, it was just amazing to see that. I felt it when Conor beat Chad Mendez. absolutely felt it when Conor beat Chad Mendes, and I felt it on Saturday. And honestly, the Saturday one might top them all because of who this dude was and the fan base and what he represents. Just a really special moment, and I can't wait to talk to him later today. I can't wait to talk to Leon freaking Rocky Edwards. Do you remember what we said on Monday? What did we say on Monday? Do we have the clip from Monday when I was talking to Leon Edwards? Can we play that for a second? What did I say to Leon on Monday? Do we have this clip? I'd love to play it. This is the beginning of a whole new chapter of your life.
That's I've been wanting anyway. I believe I'm number one anyway, Ariel. So bring them all on, one by one.
You know what? I'm just happy I don't have to, fight the good fight for you over here. I don't have to take the bullets for you anymore. We're here. We made it.
You're doing well, man. You're pushing it for years.
I know.
Thank you for helping me, and here we are, 5 days away.
We'll talk to you on Monday when you have the belt. Deal?
Strap time, facts.
We'll talk to you on Monday when you have the belt. Shout out to my guy Spencer, who's making these incredible clips for me. I mean, look at that. Look at that emotion, that scene backstage when once again, I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. We have the Bilal scene in the bus. He's crying to his mom, and then we get the scene on Saturday. He's walking in the back, crying to his mom. I mean, when I saw that, I'm a mama's boy. You all know I'm a mama's boy. The first person you want to call when you have a great moment like Saturday is your mom. The first person you want to call when your heart is broken, like it was against Bilal, is your mom. And Leon, for as little as he allows us to get into his world and into his life and into his heart, he gives us those moments. And because he doesn't do it often, those moments mean so much more. And to see him, and thank God they were rolling at that time, to see him connect with his mother, call his mother, hear his mother, crying and screaming and yelling. What's better than that, guys? What is better than that? I hope you can all appreciate this. And even if you aren't a fan of his, enjoy this and revel in it. This is why this sport is the best. Couldn't agree more with Dana White. This is what makes the sport so special, because we get so emotionally invested in these one singular journey, right? Like a journey of a human, not a team, not a collection of guys, one guy, right? And we attach ourselves to this guy, and we go through the ups and downs with this guy, and we want to see him prevail so badly that we almost want to go in there and fight the fight with him. We want to see him get over the hump, right? We want to see him will his way to the top. And then it finally happens, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. It's why this sport is so great. It's why we all love this sport, and it's why this sport is unlike anything, because it's rare you even get it in boxing. It's something very unique to MMA. He was, in that moment with a minute left, the equivalent of someone who was down 20 points. He was down 20 points in the fourth quarter with a minute left. He was down 4 touchdowns with a minute left. He was down multiple goals with a minute left. In all those other sports, football, baseball, down multiple runs, right? Basketball, all those things. Hockey, it is almost impossible. There is not one singular action that could get, you can't chuck a 20-pointer. You can't throw a 21-point touchdown. You can't do that. You can't kick 4 goals at the same time. But in MMA, you could do all that with one punch, one kick, one knee, one whatever. And he did it. And he freaking did it. Get up, son. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get up. Keep fighting. Make it dirty. If you can't relate to that, I don't know what to tell you. And so later on today, we are talking to the freaking champ. We are talking to the champion of the world, the welterweight champion of the world, Leon Rocky Edwards. There's only one Rocky Edwards. Sing with me, Frank. There's only one Rocky Edwards. Walking along, singing a song, walking in a rocky wonderland. There's only one. Sing it, Frank. Rocky Edwards. There's only one Rocky Edwards. God, I hope he gets that type of reception. I hope the reception that we saw for Yuri Prochazka pales in comparison to whatever reception he gets in Birmingham whenever he returns. I know he's in Vegas now celebrating, rightfully so, well-deserved, well-earned. He is celebrating his 31st birthday. Young guy. He's been around a long time. Young guy celebrating his 31st birthday on the 25th in 3 days. And I hope when he goes back home, he gets a reception like that. We first saw him reign supreme against Seth Baczynski, gets that 8-second knockout back in 2015. 7 years later, he gets a knockout with 4 minutes and 4 seconds into the 5th round of his title fight, which you know was going to be his one and done. You know if he lost that fight, he ain't never sniffing a title fight ever again. You just know it. And he did that, and he pulled that off, and he elicited this type of emotion out of people. It's amazing. I could talk about Rocky Edwards for 4 hours today. I could literally sit here and talk about this guy and his journey and everything, and all the arguments and battles that we have had. Because I know everyone watching right now felt the same way about this guy. I know this. I know the fans of this show felt the same way about this guy and feel like this is a victory for them too. I know it. I know who you are. I know exactly what you are feeling and how you are feeling. And if you don't feel something, if you don't have that passion for this sport, I don't know if you're a fan of my work or a fan of this show. So I know who's watching right now, and I appreciate you more than you know, and he appreciates you. I can assure you of that more than you know. It was amazing.